chat with powerful women from the globe. Inspiring Indian women have shared with me the opportunity to meet some phenomenal women over the last COVID lockdown period. And through this platform, I have been able to share with audiences worldwide, meeting and talking to women who have achieved things that I personally feel are exceptional. The reason I say it's exceptional is because as an Indian woman, I have always felt a little bit overwhelmed to choose my career because of all the external influences and restrictions. So when I see women from fields where they've achieved the impossible, I bow down with much pride and humility to say that, you know what, it is important to follow your dreams. The one message that every woman that I have met through this platform and the various events that I do is that you have to have a purpose and a passion. You grow on a daily basis and you have to use the power within to go forward. So I hope I'm going to share some inspiring Indian stories with you today. So without further ado, I'm going to say a massive welcome to the women on our panel today. I'm going to start by introducing them very briefly because it is important for you to know who I've got in front of me today. What I have done is you will be watching this on Zoom and also live on Facebook. So I have two audiences that will enjoy this at any given point of time. So on our panel today, I'm very proud to say we have squadron leader Toolika Rani. All of these leaders are obviously ex-squadron leaders because we are taking people that either have been from the field or are in the field in action. So squadron leader Toolika Rani was an ex-Indian Air Force officer. She's a mountaineer, she's a motivational speaker, she's a writer, and she's a research scholar. The thing that all of us, I'm sure on the panel, find most exciting is that she's the first woman from Uttar Pradesh to climb Mount Everest. And that for me is just a great feat that I'm going to discover in this show very soon. She's done 23 mountaineering and trekking expeditions in India, Bhutan, Nepal, Russia, Africa, and Iran. She's trained hundreds of future officers, including India's first 3 female fighter pilots. I can imagine a movie being done on you, Toolika. So I'm going to ask you some questions there. We also have another ex-squadron leader. She is called Anuradha Ganguly. She has served as an IF helicopter pilot. So again, my salute to another pilot. She has been a short service commissioning officer. She also has had a short but very interesting journey on all the other welfare projects that she does. So we're going to talk to her about those areas. She's also quite adventurous. So we're going to talk to her about all the campaigns that she's done to talk to women in terms of empowerment. And last but not the least, we have a banker within our midst. So, it's always nice to balance. So the banker within our midst is called, she's named Srishti Mahajan. And Srishti comes from a very, very interesting field. Myself pursuing that kind of profession. So I have lots of questions for her. Srishti Mahajan is recognized as an inspirational leader, a mentor. She has served many leadership positions, including the head of strategy and chief of staff, to some interesting backgrounds. Now, as we have such exciting women, I'm going to say namaste and welcome.
Namaste.
Namaste to you too.
Great. My first question to all of you wonderful ladies is, as a woman, so I'll start with, I'll just go with what is in front of me on my screen. Anuradha Ganguly ji, as a squadron leader, ex-squadron leader, Air Force woman, how was your journey and what made you choose this profession? I'm going to ask you to unmute so we can hear you.
Yeah, so flying or being a pilot was never a dream for me, but doing certainly to complete my studies quickly and get independent as soon as possible. So in the year 1992, that was my first year of graduation, that I came across the ad for the first batch of women pilots. So that was in a magazine cover. And
Right.
the moment I saw it, I just got hooked to it.
So this is the interesting this is this is the interesting element of this conversation on Zoom.
I think someone's phone is actually messing with
mind,
me.
it just happened. It's like the first love or the first look, which creates that impression in you. So I decided, yes, are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Continue.
Yeah. So so it was like the first love of mine. When the moment I looked at it, I had decided, okay, this is it, I'm going to apply. So by the time I was eligible to apply, that is, I had to complete my graduation. So the call had come for the third batch of women pilots, which was also the first batch for helicopter pilots. So the first two courses went for transport aircraft, and this was the third one, which was the first for helicopters. And I mean, it was quite an interesting journey, applying for the SSB, clearing all the tests, medicals, and then, finally you made it. So there were quite a bit of hurdles, which I was able to manage, clear. And thereafter, when my call came to report to Air Force Academy at Hyderabad, it was, something like a dream come true at that moment. So yes, we had our initial training at Hyderabad Air Force Academy, and that was for 6 months, where we were taught the basic training, a basic trainer for flying, and the associated ground subjects. Thereafter, we were also taught physical and mental toughening up to prepare us for the military service. And then the next 1 year was at Secunderabad, which was for helicopter training. So after 1.5 years of training, we got commissioned into the Air Force. During those times, we used to start with pilot officer rank, but now it is directly into, you're commissioned as a flying officer. So that was, thereafter we got posted to our units, the flying units, at various bases all over the country. So I was posted to a place in Punjab, where we did the we got on-job training about flying in the local terrain, getting familiarized with the terrain. And also we got trained to handle flying in the various situations, like casualty evacuation, then search and rescue, the various types of operations that are conducted by the helicopters. So yes, you were saying something?
So even before you explain, and I'm sure Srishti and Toolika ji might have a perspective on this. As women, when you must have told your parents, I want to enter the Indian Army or Air Force, and then when it came to that crux that I'm going to fly planes, were you lucky with parents who said, yes, honey, go for it, I'm really proud of you? Or was it like, what are you doing? How can you do this? What if something happens? What if it crashes? What if you hurt yourself?
I don't come from a military background, but I did go to a military school, so I'll answer that. No, my parents never stopped me. They've always pushed me. It's been a very positive upbringing. But I just want to mention something that you mentioned in the beginning, Darshini, with regards to powerful. So my take on powerful is basically that to be inspirational, one does not need to be in a high-paid job in a multinational company, or I'm not degrading anyone, but or coming from a military background or from any other background. You can be inspiring. Just the fact that there are people that are attending the Zoom, listening to not powerful, but a woman who can fill someone with the desire or urge to do something worthwhile is inspirational itself and powerful itself. So if you have, or any of us have inspired somebody around us, be it even a stranger, you are powerful, you're inspirational. Spreading positivity, not putting other women down. And here I use women not because I am creating a gender divide, but because of the forum for ease of understanding. So spreading positivity, not putting other women down when she achieves something, when she doesn't, when she lives a carefree life or is tangled in a day-to-day chores, it does not make her any less or more than you. It's a choice that you have made. And some want to get married, some want to be single, some want to have kids, some want to have a career and kids, but their responsibility is no less than the other. So inspirational and powerful, I think it's basically helping each other progress as a person. So that's my take on it, on being powerful.
Yeah,
I think
totally
it's a
agree.
very-
Yes, I totally agree with what Ms. Srishti has said. And absolutely correct. It is not about coming from a particular background, but it is about choosing what your heart wants to do and progressing in that direction. Plus, when you reach a particular position in that field, it becomes a responsibility to bring other people up to that position. So
Very
coming
important.
to the question that Darshini had asked about the response from the society or the family when somebody wants to choose an unconventional career. By military career, I suppose that is what you were trying to point out.
Yes.
So any unconventional career which does not fit in the gender stereotypes, when one starts to choose it, in my case, I would say that my parents were quite supportive because my father himself wanted to join military. He could not due to some reasons. So he saw perhaps in me his dream being fulfilled. And I, of course, on my part, was determined to do it because I had put a sketch made by me, of course, in front of my wall, in front of the wall, like on the wall in front of my bed. And that sketch was of a girl in a military uniform. So I was so dedicated, so drawn to military that this is one thing which I want to do. Yes, the society puts a pressure on you to join fields which are considered more beneficial, more suitable for women, such as going to academics, become a teacher, perhaps a doctor, or at the most an engineer. But when I chose this unconventional career, I thought that any choice in our life, be it of our career, be it of our marriage, or the choice of subjects that we want to study, or any further option that we want to take in our lives, shall not depend on our gender. It shall purely be based on our inclination, because each one of us is born with a particular kind of a liking and inclination in life. So this is what is our calling, as Ms. Srishti was talking about the inner calling. Yes, I perfectly agree with you here that we all have this one inner calling and one talent that we have better than others. So that is the field that we must choose. And if the society comes, if the norms and conventions come in its way, we must have the courage to stand up and live up to the expectation that our heart has from us. Because if we go into that particular field, we might have a position in the initial field. But if we persist, and here I speak with my own experience, if we persist despite the opposition and criticism in the initial phase, and we earn that respect, we perform excellently, the respect and appreciation comes from the very people who were opposed to it initially. So that would be my message, yes.
And I think though, as my main aim for these kind of chats is that, see, if you come from a very progressive background where your parents are extremely supportive, you know, you don't come from traditional household where both sides, both parents, and luckily you might choose a partner as well, which I'll share with you a story that a major shared with me the last time we did this chat, that how do you choose a partner if you're choosing a career which is not your traditional career? I still feel that we are a long way off as a nation. I mean, I live in Britain for 23 years, so I obviously meet people who don't need to even think about this. But when I came from the country I came from, it did not give me the opportunity, you know, and maybe I wasn't strong enough. So one of my main aims through Inspiring Indian Women is to tell women, you must put your heart into something that you really want to do. And that's why when I meet people like you, the first thing I ask you, and that's what I want to determine when I speak to different people from different genres, is what is it that drives you? And from you that I have learned that you always had the ambition to do that, which I see as a common thread. You don't care about society pressures. You know what you want, and you single-mindedly focus on that. The sex is, I know, is not relevant in terms of what gender you come from. So as we've come to this little conclusion from this initial introduction, that if you are determined, you follow the path like all of you have made a success of your career in the field that you wanted to pursue.
Sorry, Darshini, just on what, just want to add something, what squadron leader Toolika just mentioned. What I was talking about is not about inner calling, first of all, but at the same time, what you mentioned about unconventional roles and responsibilities and jobs, I totally agree with that. I agree that women should all seek lateral alliances with those wanting to completely reinvent the workforce rather than carve niches into something that has already been built. They should just build their own castles. So it doesn't, so be it a military background or engineering or this. So the thing is, you become your own owner of what you want to do. It might not be the purpose of your life, because what is the purpose of life? Purpose of life is a life of purpose. So it doesn't matter which field you're in. So just wanted to tie that in with what squadron leader said and on unconventional women. So I think that's going to be very useful.
I agree with you. I think the motivational speaker side of you really looks at things very philosophically. I admire that. I really do. It does bring a lot of inner peace to your personality when you think deeply through things. I have a question now for Anuradha-ji. Anuradha-ji, you, in your little background that I've had the opportunity to study, I see that you do a lot of eco-friendly initiatives. Talk to us about that, because at the moment, that's a hot topic. I have so many friends that have packaging that they do, which is eco-friendly. So tell me what you do in terms of eco-friendliness.
My interest in environment conservation has been there right from my childhood. So it's basically, we are planet, we are a part of I think we should try to live symbiotically rather than be a parasite on this planet. So we are all taking away chunks, biting chunks of this earth, but we are not able to replenish. So that is the lifestyle that most of us have kind of built around us, which is quite unsustainable. And so my main focus area is waste management, because every person generates waste. And with the kind of population that we have, I'm sorry to say, generated the most harmful kind of waste, which doesn't even degrade, the non-biodegradable waste. So I've been working in this area after my tenure in Air Force, and particularly in the area of waste management. So the most simple thing I feel that
if we miss out on some parts of your conversation,
or to try and move towards a zero waste lifestyle. So what I'm saying is that each of us must try to move towards a zero waste. It's a connection issue.
Okay.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes. I'm also going to ask you to do, Anuradha-ji,
yes.
I'll ask you to send Rashmi a link of the initiative that you have set up. So anybody that logs into this chat afterwards, if you send us a link, I believe you do something called the Green Trails
Yes.
program, and there's all sorts of interesting things that you do. That kind of information is really useful, and we should log into it. If we now actually move on to Squadron Leader Toolika Rani, I now want to ask you another question related to your adventurous expeditions. What I'm learning from all of you, I'm taking each element of your character and sort of putting it in little line, and I'm hoping that women, when they listen to us, learn that yes, you have to have a supportive background. Yes, you have to pursue your dreams and your aspirations. You have to do initiatives that kind of challenge your mental norms. Now, in terms of adventure, talk to us a little bit about how did you juggle a full-time career and then all these amazing expeditions, Toolika ji?
I was fortunate, I would say, that it was Indian Air Force itself which gave me the opportunity to venture into adventure sports. So it was way back in 2009 when I had done my basic mountaineering course, and the Indian Air Force had conceived a plan to send its women officers to Mount Everest. There was supposed to be a 2 years training program before that. So
Wow.
I volunteered for this. Now, within me, I have found one thing, that I always constantly want to challenge my limits, because what I perceive deeply within me is that our limits are only in our minds. And until and unless we put ourselves into challenging situations which force us, compel us to go beyond those comfort zones that we have been living in, we do not realize as to how much we have within us. There is a huge amount of latent power and strength within each one of us. I do believe in the Indian philosophy, which says that dive within first, and thereafter you will discover the entire world, because the whole world is there within us. The whole Brahmand, as we say, the universe that we talk about, all that universe is within a human being, and a human being is in turn a part of this entire universe. So in my life, I am on a quest to discover myself more and more till the time I have this single breath left in me. And that is why when I got this opportunity, I just jumped onto it. What happens in life is that whenever challenging opportunities come our way, sometimes we have this element of self-doubt, and we just sit back. We are hesitant to take it because we are afraid whether we match up to the task or not. Another thing that we are afraid of is failing. Because
Failing.
what would happen if we fail? So we can take that step, but what will the world say? What will our dear ones say when we fail? What will be our self-image when we come back after not achieving the task we had undertaken? So that is why sometimes we hold back ourselves. But in my case, I would say that I have that kind of a tendency to jump into challenges, because I feel there are only two possibilities. Either I will succeed or I will fail. But if I fail, at least I will not live with the guilt that I did not experience it. So that is why I joined this expedition, and we trained for 2 years as an Air Force team on different peaks. The first peak started with 6,000 meter plus in Leh Ladakh. People must have heard about it. It's a very famous place in North India, in Kashmir. So then when we embarked on our Air Force expedition on Mount Everest in 2011, I thought that I was a very fit person. But here I would like to emphasize one point. It is not always our physical fitness or our material resources that determine the outcome or our effort. It is majorly the aptitude, whether we apply
I'll stop you there. So when you say, okay, so one of the things that you explained to us is the fact that, you have to challenge yourself. When you say aptitude, can you sort of explain it a bit before you tell us what aptitude? Tell us, what do you mean by the word aptitude?
Aptitude is something that you have that inclination to bear the hardships that come on the way to attainment of that task. So if you can enjoy the challenges that come your way when you are on a pursuit of something difficult, then you have the aptitude for that thing. I had realized this particular thing lacking in me on my first 2 expeditions. Despite being very fit, I failed on my second expedition, and I realized that there was a fear in me. This fear was removed perhaps to some extent on my third expedition to Mount Kamet, when our team was stuck for 6 hours in a snow blizzard. I realized that that's one moment when we were struggling for a life and death situation. The visibility was nil. There were very high winds, very cold temperature, and snow was being whirled up from all sides upon us, our fingers freezing, and there was actually a struggle for living, being alive. At that particular moment, it was so hard that my body just wanted to unattach myself from the rope and fall down into the valley beneath. But then there was a voice which said, continue, just hold on to it, stick to it, just take another step. This is what I call the aptitude for it. When you start enjoying the challenge, let it come, I will face it. And in that process, I suppose Anuradha ma'am will vouch for it, because both of us have been into military, and the military training at the first instance teaches us to enjoy challenges.
Yes.
When we are doing exercises for 18 hours a day,
18 hours a day.
We do not break down. We do not break down because the mind starts enjoying those challenges. So that is what I mean by aptitude. One has to develop, yes, this aptitude can be developed, as it was in my case, that gradually, when you realize that life and death is destined, you cannot change the time of your death. So by the time you are meant to be alive, you will remain alive. And that is why there is no point fearing anything. And that is why one shall do what one is inclined to do. That is when aptitude comes into picture.
Wow. I remember saying to someone the other day, I said, oh, how do you really get fit? And, is it because of what we eat as Asians? Is our diet not healthy? Blah, 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 blah. But when I'm actually listening to you, one of the things that I'm actually picking up from both of you is actually the thing that drives you both, I can actually see, is the fact that you are determined. So I'm going to, if Anuradha ji's connection is better, I would first like her to answer it, and then Toolika ji just jump in and answer if you can. 18 hours a day. How do you? Is it that much, or is it daily? Is it like weekly? How do women do that? And are we built? And you think we? Tell me, I'm just overwhelmed.
Anuradha ma'am, taking this question?
See, this happens in the training. So we are geared up for military service, which has its challenges, which has its moments, of absolute focus, and we need to face up to that. So in the training period, they ensure that they try and get us up to it. Right. Yes, it is a fact that we do train for long hours, sometimes up to 18 hours. We just barely manage to get our sleep, and it's like we are up at 4 a.m. in the morning, and we are at it continuously right up to 12 in the night. So and sometimes we are even called in the middle of the night. So we have to get up. We have to prepare. It is basically getting us mentally and physically tough for the military service.
Wow. And Toolika ji, what with all this talk about training, how important is your diet? And how do you? Is it not your problem because the military feeds you or the Air Force feeds you, or is it something that you consciously focus on in terms of fitness?
The Air Force does feed us. During the training, everything is planned. So it is the military organization that plans our schedule and our diet, everything. But I would say here, any human being, as I was talking initially, that our limits are only in our minds. Until unless we put ourselves into challenging situations, we do not realize as to how much is there within us. So what happens in a military training is that we are put into that challenging situation. If we have to survive, we have to do it. It is like throw us into the water, either you swim or you sink. Right. Another important element that comes into picture is the teamwork, because we do not do it alone there. There are so many of our postmates who are doing it together. And that is where military weaves into an element of togetherness, that bond, which is very, very important. So as human beings, we hold each other's hand and we pass that very, very difficult time of our life, of our training together. So herein comes in that lesson that in life also, whenever tough conditions come, and when you feel that you cannot perhaps individually take it that much, if we come to help each other, we can survive. This is all that I have learned from my military training. This is what I have learned of my adventure career. And now in this COVID situation, this is what I'm seeing in my own country here. If people hold hands and come to support each other, instill hope in each other, motivate each other, it is possible to overcome a very tough challenge also.
So here's, so we've talked about the career, we talked about your the other things that you ladies do, how you motivate other women to pursue this career. Now I'm going to ask you a personal question, which is basically, career तो चल रहा है साइड पे, कोई दिक्कत नहीं आ रही है. अब पेरेंट्स की तरफ से या फैमिली की तरफ से there will be that pressure. शादी कब करोगी, बच्चे कब होंगे? So how do you now, both of you please answer individually when you can. How do you now, when you're doing this very physically, emotionally, mentally challenging career, what do? Take a break and get married, have children, or do it side by side? I know that you need a good spouse. That's something I've learned from all my army chats with the ladies there. So I'll ask Anuradha ji and then Toolika ji to explain to me, how did you then make the decision to get married and have children, if either of you did?
Like all career women, one needs to do a bit of planning. So since we have joined the military service, we need to give full focus and our full contribution in the initial years, at least till the time we stabilize and we are comfortable with what we are doing. So I think in that sense, you need to, you shouldn't rush into marriage right at the time of, getting inducted. But if you are able to plan out well, if you're able to plan out your pregnancies, all right. I think it's not a difficult task. I've seen many lady officers who have managed pretty well under the circumstances.
And before I swap to Toolika, I noticed that your husband is also military and you have 2 children, yes. Teenagers now. So you've done the initial hard work. How was that journey, very briefly? Was it hard or you just enjoyed the process?
It just happened naturally, spontaneously. My husband was my colleague when I joined the Indian Air Force. So thereafter, we got married when I was into my 5 years of service, around 5 years of service, and children happened. So it's not been a really problematic for me career-wise. Yes, after the children came, especially when it's in the flying field, one needs to take a break because you're medically down, and those are long periods, like almost for a year and a half, you're medically down. So you need to make a little adjustments, but there are always alternatives. There are roles that you can play in your own units, in your own setups, even when you're not flying. So you do your best out there. That's the thing. And you have to be able to adapt to all situations.
And I bet the school moms used to love listening to the kids say to each other, my mom's a pilot. She's super cool. I bet that was really a nice thing. So Toolika, go ahead. What was it like for you?
I suppose I got married a little late by the Indian standards. I got married when I was 36. And I had already served my initial tenure of 10 years in Indian Air Force. So after I came out of service, then I met my husband, who is now my husband. So I got married last year itself. But I would say,
Wonderful.
as Anuradha ma'am had just pointed out, one should not rush into marriage. It shall happen if you feel that you have come across the right person. I believe that marriage, for the sake of marriage, can ruin your life. So you have to be very careful on that one front. Do not come
Right.
under pressure from society. Yes, people will keep on saying, when are you getting married? Those kind of questions did come my way also. And I suppose every woman out there faces these kind of questions. But it is our life, we have to remember that. And if later on any problem comes, it is not the people who are going to come to our rescue. It is just us who have to manage with our husband and with his family also, with our life together, basically. So it shall be totally the decision of the woman. That is what I would say. Do it at the moment you feel like doing it. The age shall not be a bar for that matter, I suppose. It is the right person. It is the right person that if he comes your way and you feel comfortable that you can live with that person your whole life, then get into it. Otherwise, not. We have a lot of single women also across, and they are doing exceptionally well. So we can be an asset. A life of a woman shall not be seen as something incomplete without getting into marriage. Yes, marriage is a very integral part of our lives, and we shall feel this kind of a togetherness, which is very natural, because I do believe that nature has made us into two components. Indian philosophy talks about a concept of ardhanarishwar. So we have this in the Shivaji, the Lord Shiv that we have. He is shown in the ardhanarishwar concept, and that is meant half female, half male, joined together. When they come together and unite, they make a whole entity. So yes, I do agree that we shall experience this kind of a togetherness in our lifetime, but only with the right person. So career and marriage, balancing both, it takes a lot of hard work, especially for women. So whoever is listening to us right there, I would say that the societal perceptions on this front need to change. Families are not solely women's responsibility, because family is the name of a unit in which a man, a woman, children, and perhaps the extended family, their parents also live. So it is a combined responsibility of all the members of the family to support one person, rather support each other and make the matters run.
So I'm now going to ask a difficult question. I've asked you simple questions. I've asked you a little bit personal. I've asked you adventure questions. Now comes the tricky one. I know both of you are quite determined and you have achieved what you wanted to achieve, and now you do other things and you forayed into areas which you are doing a great job in. The reason we do these chat shows is because we want to tackle every issue a woman faces wherever she is, in whichever part of the world, America, United Kingdom, India, any other part of the world. So this question is dealing with society norms in terms of your professional field. As an event organizer, as a dancer, there are certain tags that people give me. Oh, you just dance. You don't need to worry about it. Whereas, you talked about teamwork. I deal with suppliers, I deal with clients, I deal with customers, I deal with performers, and all of them have different mindsets. And you're juggling all of that. The thing that I find really difficult, and I don't know if either of you ever did, how do you deal with men who are still old-fashioned in your specific fields? Obviously, we don't expect to name names, but who actually say to you, women तो पैर की जूती होती है, उसको कुछ बोलने का हक नहीं है, तुम चुपचाप काम करो, बाकी का हम देख लेंगे. How do you deal with those kind of archaic men in your fields? So I'll start with Anuradha ji. Have you had the unfortunate occasion where women have been either abused or maltreated in your profession, and how have you dealt with it?
I see military service, the people who come into military service come from the same society that we all grow up in. So the patriarchal mindset does exist, but I must say that it depends on the organization, how they deal with such people and how the people are groomed, to think. and behave. So in that sense, I would feel that military service is very concerned, and by and large, they do support an individual who is sincere, who is loyal, who has the passion to perform, and these things are kind of secondary. There are instances, I do know of some colleagues who have faced harassment, who've faced difficult situations, but I think most of it can be overcome with your performance. If you show in your performance that you are nothing less than what they are, this becomes a very secondary issue, because it does take a little while, but eventually they do understand. And the moment you build a kind of a reputation for yourself, the moment you've, everybody knows that, okay, you are here to do your duty, to perform, and you won't get swayed with other silly issues. I think it's
You're talking
fine.
about
You're
something.
able to manage it.
So you're talking about management, you're talking about performance, and you're talking about consistency. If people see those kind of
Yes.
aspects to your personality, then
Yes.
you are able to deal with it. Okay, what is your view on that, Toolika ji?
I would second what ma'am has said, that it is only about persistence and perseverance and performance. Because initially, when these kind of mindset face you, you have to ignore it perhaps and think that these people have been brought up in that kind of a situation, so they do not know any better. But if they try to come in your way, you have to deal with it strictly, of course. If there are any people in authority above that one particular person who tries to bring this kind of a mindset in the path of your career, in the path of your work, of course you can go up and raise your voice. But if it is something that you can ignore at that particular moment and overtake it, overcome it with your performance, as ma'am had just now said, I would say that take that kind of an approach. Because we, in this short time of span of our lifetime, we cannot change everybody's perception at that point of time by persuasion, by arguments. So it is only by our performance that we change perceptions. This is what I have seen through my own life. There were people, I would like to share a small incident here. When we went into training, there was a 1-year training at our time in the Air Force Academy, Hyderabad. And after our training was over, at the close of the training, one of my course mates walked up to me and he said that, I want to salute you. So I asked him why. He was my course mate, why would he salute me? So he said, he confessed it, that on the first day when we came over here, assembled here as the cadets in this academy, I was thinking, what are girls doing here? What are girls doing in defense forces? So, but after a year of training with you guys, and after seeing you perform, I have respect for you and I want to salute you. He kept on calling me a commando thereafter. I call him a commando back, so we both are commandos now. So it is not a matter of perception. I suppose it is only the persistence and perseverance and your performance that would change society's perception. Do not go changing individuals' perception one by one. That will take a lot of time. Rather, aim to rise high, excel in your work, and that would set up an example for the larger area, larger masses to change their perceptions about females.
I think when I do a little summary of everything that I've learned from you, I've sort of, I say the word learned is because every person that I meet through Inspiring Indian Women, as a host, my job is to bring their stories to the world. I think the whole Inspiring Indian Women team is led by a person that believes in teamwork. So I think it's important that, you know, we are able to share those stories with others that who will listen to us either now or later on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, that they learn. And I will summarize all the knowledge that you have shared with me. And it is extremely, extremely beneficial to people. And I feel that your time in sharing this and continue doing this work is so important. As the last question before we end today's show, because I know we have another 3 o'clock as well. So I'm going to ask you another relevant question. So you started in this military career, Air Force career, and then you pursued other activities. You had a family. You achieved all of those dreams or aspirations that you had to become happy. Now, as you are in another chapter of your life, I'll start with Anuradhaji. Anuradhaji, what is it that you now do, very briefly, in terms of using all that wealth of knowledge, and what do you do now to share it with people around you?
Military service has taught me a lot of things, and one of the main things that I cherish is the ability to adapt to situations, to think positively in a crisis, to be able to perform in a crisis, and to be able to lend a hand to people in need around you. Like when we as a part of the helicopter fleet, we are very proud that we are able to do a lot of work which is towards humanitarian causes. That is, you're rescuing people, you're saving lives, you are providing basic amenities to people in far-flung areas. So these are situations and experiences that have taught me to take it further in society. So you just need to look around you to be perceptive. Pardon me?
And where are you based? Which part of the world are you in?
Right now, I'm in Delhi. Since my husband is still in active military service, so I go along with him wherever he gets posted. So we are in Delhi right now.
How is Delhi coping at the moment in the COVID crisis? Is it recovering? Do you see hope? Because
thankfully the peak is over. The peak of the pandemic in Delhi, at least this wave of the pandemic, is over. So it is on the decline. And now the amenities, the life-saving resources that are required are available, and people are able to access it more easily.
Please communicate this on your Facebook. Please share this, because in the British media, especially, they'll say Indian variant, India's collapsing, and it's so heartwarming to hear that there is hope and Indians will recover, that I can go home and see my family. No, we are here, stuck here for 2 years because, of the situation back home. So I'm grateful that you're saying that there is light at the end of the tunnel. So you're saying it.
Certainly. It reaches a peak at every place and then starts the decline. So first it was Maharashtra, now it is Delhi, and hopefully this thing will, extend to other places also. We just need to look out around us for people in need, try and help people as far as possible. That is precisely what I'm doing. We have been homebound for more than a year now, but there is social media, there is technology available where you can reach out to people, you can amplify their voices, those who need certain things. And I think one must just try and look after people who are around you, who are accessible to you. That is the most important thing that we all need to, take care of.
All right. So thank you so much for that. And keep doing the good work that you're doing. And we are very, very proud of your journey and your achievements. Toolika, Rani, can you tell us where are you at the moment and what is it that you're doing and which part of the world?
I'm right now in Lucknow, which is just 45 minutes flying time away from Delhi. So that is in North India, Uttar Pradesh. It is the capital of Uttar Pradesh, Lucknow. So where I am right now, similar situation is also prevailing here, that now the cases are on decline. And I suppose we are past that peak of the crisis right now. It is the time to rebuild. And through my actions and through my words, this is what I'm trying to do. Because after every storm, there is reconstruction. So this kind of a crisis was a huge storm, a hurricane kind of thing for us. But now human beings have also survived through all the ages of destruction through one thing only, and that is hope. So right now in this pandemic, I started writing short stories because I always had this flair for writing. So I am writing a series of short stories titled Fountain of Hope. I've already written 3 stories in it. And through my words, I'm trying to give that one thing to people which can keep us afloat even in the harshest of times. That's hope. Because we can survive this time. We have survived already as a human race. We have survived a lot of pandemics. We have survived a lot of wars. And this is just one part of that. It will also be gone one day. In addition to it, I'm also a motivational speaker. So through my words again, words, whether be spoken or written, have immense power to heal, have immense power to change this world for better. So that's what I try to do. At this time of crisis in our lives, a lot of families have, of course, lost their dear ones. But we need to understand one thing. Life and death is one circle. Yes, we are living with that loss. All of us are living with that loss. But what we need to look forward to is the future, the tomorrow. I have written a short story called Seeds, because I lost my grandfather recently. But I look at his grandchildren today. So we still have something. We still have the future ahead of us. And that is what we shall always focus as human beings. So that's my job right now. As motivational speaker, I speak on these things. One is the immense power latent within a human being to overcome any kind of challenges. Another is the togetherness and the oneness of human race. Because we might be living in any kind of part, as you are living right now in UK, but you feel the pain. You feel the pain from so far away also. So what does that mean? Switzerland sent us aid. All other countries, Britain sent us aid. So all these countries are sending aid to India. Why? Because we do feel the pain of the other. So distance does not matter. We have to remember this thing in our life. Every adversity shall teach us something. And the lesson that we shall take away from this pandemic on the entire human being is what is actually of value. Of value is the human warmth and connection. Value is not for wealth, power, and money. Nothing can save you when these kind of crises come. Only thing that ma'am had just now pointed out, what saves you, what rescues you is the person next to you who feels your pain and is ready to extend that helping hand. So we have to learn this. We have to be more humane after this crisis, I suppose.
So I have learned a lot from you, and we're coming to the end of this wonderful show. I would like to extend a massive thank you to all of you for being a part of this wonderful event. I call it an event because every time we meet powerful women, I will continue using that word because I find women that follow their dreams powerful. So for me, I'm blessed to be able to meet you all and learn so much from you. Inspiring Indian Women, led by Rashmi, does this great service to humanity by sharing your stories with women all around the world and men, hopefully, and they learn so much. As a quick roundup, these are the things that I have picked up from today's chat. I would say that as a woman, I think it's important that you are determined to follow your dreams, pursue a career that you believe in and you want to fulfill, and make sure that you have courage behind your conviction. Do not hold yourself back. I feel that you have to get the right training, get the right support from your family, and believe that you will achieve your dreams. I believe from you that teamwork is very important. When you work with each other, you achieve miracles, whether it is a social event, whether it is a professional event, whether it is working in a corporate environment, that is what's required. Marriage and your personal life, you have to choose a partner that supports you in your vision, that stands with you hand in hand and lets you achieve, and vice versa. It works both ways, whether you're a man or a woman. Each have to support each other. Number 5, I love this phrase that Anuradha ji gave us, performance, persistence, perseverance. These are the 3 P's that are super essential to follow your career path and your personal path. The ability to adapt, positivity, which I think is key, that I see exuding both from Anuradha, from yourself, Toolika, Rashmi. She's like the epitome of positivity. She's like, Darshini, kuch nahi hai jisse main darti hu, which is very important. So yes, positivity. And in this world, at this point of time, size 0 doesn't matter. What matters is human warmth. Human warmth to be able to reach out to people that need your help. Inspiring Indian Women and a lot of other organizations here in the UK are reaching out to Indians across the globe, helping each other deal with these crises. So on that very positive note, hum honge kamyab is what I'd like to say. Thank you very much for chatting with us today and sharing your experiences, Squadron Leader Toolika Rani ji, Squadron Leader Anuradha ji. Thank you for coming. Thank you all the ladies that stayed with us. Thank you, Rashmi.